Welcome to the Indian Ocean game, where maritime geopolitics and naval power shape the destinies of nations. The Indian Ocean, stretching from the eastern coast of Africa to the shores of Australia, is more than just a vast expanse of water. It's a dynamic arena where global powers compete for influence, resources, and security. In this video, we'll explore how the Indian Ocean has become a focal point for international strategy, why it matters, and how naval power is changing the balance. Let's dive into the currents of history, strategy, and ambition that define this crucial region. Indian Ocean's geography makes it a crossroads for global trade and energy flows. With major sea lanes passing through, it connects the Middle East, Africa, and Asia, serving as a vital artery for the world economy. Over 80% of the world's seaborne oil trade transits these waters, making control and security here a top priority for many nations. The ocean's chokepoints, such as the Strait of Hormuz and the Malacca Strait, are especially critical. Whoever controls these passages can influence global commerce and energy supplies. Centuries, the Indian Ocean has been a theater of exploration, commerce, and conflict. Ancient empires, colonial powers, and modern states have all sought to dominate its waters. The Portuguese, Dutch, British, and French left their marks, establishing ports and naval bases. Today, the legacy of these rivalries continues, as new players enter the scene and old powers adapt. Understanding this historical backdrop helps explain why the Indian Ocean remains so fiercely contested. Naval power in the Indian Ocean is more important than ever. Countries like India, China, and the United States have invested heavily in modernizing their fleets and expanding their presence. Aircraft carriers, submarines, and advanced surveillance systems patrol these waters, projecting strength and deterring rivals. The ability to control the sea is not just about military might. It's about securing trade, protecting citizens, and shaping regional politics. India, with its long coastline and strategic location, sees itself as a natural leader in the Indian Ocean. The Indian Navy has expanded its capabilities, focusing on blue water operations and regional partnerships. India's maritime strategy emphasizes securing sea lanes, countering piracy, and building alliances with neighboring countries. Through naval exercises and port visits, India aims to strengthen its influence and ensure stability in its backyard. China's growing economic and military power has brought it to the forefront of Indian Ocean geopolitics. Through its Belt and Road Initiative, China has invested in ports and infrastructure across the region, from Gwadar in Pakistan to Hambantota in Sri Lanka. The Chinese Navy now regularly patrols these waters, and its first overseas military base in Djibouti signals a long-term commitment. This expansion has raised concerns among other regional powers, especially India. The United States has long maintained a strong naval presence in the Indian Ocean, viewing it as essential to global security. With bases in Diego Garcia and regular patrols by the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet, America ensures freedom of navigation and deters potential threats. The U.S. also works closely with allies and partners, conducting joint exercises and sharing intelligence. Its involvement is a key factor in the region's balance of power. Beyond the major powers, several regional countries play important roles in the Indian Ocean. Nations like Australia, Indonesia, and South Africa contribute to maritime security and economic development. Their navies participate in joint exercises, anti-piracy missions, and humanitarian operations. These regional players help maintain stability and ensure that the Indian Ocean remains open and secure for all. Indian Ocean is home to several strategic chokepoints, narrow passages that are vital for global trade. The Strait of Hormuz, Bab el-Mandeb, and the Malacca Strait are especially significant. Any disruption here can have global consequences affecting oil prices and supply chains. Control over these chokepoints is a major objective for regional and global powers, making them hotspots for tension and competition. Energy security is a driving force behind the Indian Ocean's geopolitics. The region is a major transit route for oil and gas shipments from the Middle East to Asia. Ensuring the safe passage of these resources is crucial for both producers and consumers. Naval patrols, international cooperation, and technological advances all play a role in protecting these vital energy flows from threats like piracy and terror. Piracy and maritime crime have long threatened the Indian Ocean's security. Hotspots like the waters off Somalia have seen attacks on commercial vessels, prompting international naval responses. Multinational task forces now patrol these areas, escorting ships and deterring criminals. While piracy has declined in recent years, the threat remains, requiring constant vigilance and cooperation among nations. Naval bases and logistics hubs are critical for sustaining operations in the Indian Ocean. Countries have established bases in key locations, such as Diego Garcia, Djibouti, and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. These facilities support refueling, repairs, and resupply, enabling navies to project power far from home. The competition to secure and expand these bases reflects the strategic importance of the region. Alliances and partnerships are shaping the Indian Ocean's security environment. The Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, or Quad, brings together India, the US, Japan, and Australia to coordinate on maritime issues. Other groupings like the Indian Ocean Rim Association foster cooperation on trade, disaster response, and environmental protection. These alliances help balance power and promote stability in the region. Technological advancements are transforming naval operations in the Indian Ocean. Modern warships are equipped with sophisticated radar, sonar, and missile systems. Drones and satellites provide real-time surveillance, while cyber capabilities enhance command and control. These innovations give navies an edge, allowing them to detect threats, respond quickly, and operate more efficiently across vast distances. Indian Ocean's environment faces growing challenges, from pollution and overfishing to climate change and rising sea levels. These issues threaten coastal communities and marine ecosystems. Regional cooperation is essential to address these problems, with countries working together on conservation, disaster response, and sustainable development. Protecting the ocean's health is vital for the region's long-term security and prosperity. Trade and commerce are the lifeblood of the Indian Ocean. Major ports like Mumbai, Colombo, and Singapore handle millions of containers each year, connecting producers and consumers across continents. The region's economic growth depends on secure and efficient sea lanes. Disruptions, whether from conflict or natural disasters, can have ripple effects on global supply chains and markets. Indian Ocean is rich in natural resources including fisheries, minerals, and hydrocarbons. Fishing supports millions of livelihoods, but overexploitation and illegal fishing threaten stocks. Offshore oil and gas fields are another source of competition, with countries vying for exploration rights. Sustainable management of these resources is crucial for economic and environmental stability. Navies in the Indian Ocean often participate in humanitarian missions, responding to natural disasters, evacuations, and search and rescue operations. Cyclones, tsunamis, and other emergencies require rapid, coordinated action. These missions build trust among nations and demonstrate the positive role of naval power beyond conflict and competition. International law, especially the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea (UNCLOS), provides the legal framework for maritime activities in the Indian Ocean. These rules define territorial waters, exclusive economic zones, and rights of passage. Disputes over boundaries and resources are common, making legal agreements and arbitration essential for peaceful resolution. Ports, shipyards, and communication networks form the backbone of the Indian Ocean's maritime infrastructure. Investments in modernizing these facilities boost trade, support naval operations, and attract foreign investment. However, infrastructure projects can also become sources of rivalry as countries compete for influence and access. Beneath the Indian Ocean's surface lies a web of undersea communication cables, carrying vast amounts of data between continents. These cables are critical for global connectivity, supporting everything from finance to social media. Protecting them from sabotage or natural disasters is a growing concern for governments and businesses alike. Shipping lanes crisscross the Indian Ocean, forming the arteries of global commerce. These routes are carefully managed to avoid congestion and accidents. The safety and efficiency of shipping lanes depend on international cooperation, advanced navigation systems, and constant monitoring. Regular naval exercises in the Indian Ocean bring together ships and crews from different countries. These drills improve interoperability, test new tactics, and build mutual understanding. Exercises like MALABAR and RIMPAC demonstrate the commitment of regional and global powers to maintaining security and readiness. Intelligence gathering is a key aspect of maritime security. Navies and coast guards use surveillance aircraft, satellites, and electronic monitoring to track ships, detect threats, and share information. Timely intelligence helps prevent incidents and supports effective decision-making in a complex environment. Natural disasters like tsunamis and cyclones frequently impact the Indian Ocean region. Rapid response by navies and international organizations saves lives and helps communities recover. Coordination, logistics, and preparedness are essential for effective disaster relief operations. Maritime diplomacy plays a crucial role in building trust and resolving disputes in the Indian Ocean. Port visits, joint patrols, and naval dialogues foster communication and cooperation. These diplomatic efforts help prevent misunderstandings and promote peaceful coexistence among diverse nations. An arms race is underway in the Indian Ocean as countries invest in new warships, submarines, and missile systems. This buildup reflects both security concerns and the desire for regional influence. While modernization can deter threats, it also raises the risk of escalation and miscalculation. Non-state actors, including pirates, terrorists, and smugglers, pose persistent threats in the Indian Ocean. These groups exploit weak governance and vast maritime spaces to carry out attacks and illegal activities. Combating these threats requires intelligence sharing, law enforcement cooperation, and robust naval patrols. Economic corridors such as the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor are reshaping the Indian Ocean's connectivity. These projects link ports, railways, and highways, boosting trade and investment. However, they also bring geopolitical competition as countries vie for influence and access to markets. Environmental security is increasingly recognized as a key issue in the Indian Ocean. Oil spills, plastic pollution, and habitat destruction threaten marine life and coastal economies. Regional initiatives aim to reduce pollution, restore ecosystems, and promote sustainable use of ocean resources. Effective fisheries management is essential to prevent overfishing and ensure food security in the Indian Ocean. Regional agreements and monitoring systems help track catches and enforce regulations. Sustainable practices benefit both the environment and the millions who depend on fishing for their livelihoods. Climate change is altering the Indian Ocean's environment with rising sea levels, stronger storms, and shifting fish stocks. Coastal communities face increased risks from flooding and erosion. Adapting to these changes requires investment in resilience, disaster preparedness, and international cooperation. Disputes over maritime boundaries are common in the Indian Ocean as countries seek to expand their exclusive economic zones. Negotiations, arbitration, and sometimes confrontation occur as states assert their claims. Resolving these disputes peacefully is essential for regional stability and cooperation. Naval modernization programs are underway across the Indian Ocean region. Countries are investing in new ships, submarines, and advanced weaponry to enhance their capabilities. This modernization race reflects the growing importance of maritime power in shaping regional dynamics. Islands like the Andaman and Nicobar, Seychelles, and Maldives hold strategic value in the Indian Ocean. They serve as bases for naval operations, surveillance, and logistics. Control over these islands enhances a country's ability to monitor sea lanes and project power across the region. The concept of the blue economy emphasizes sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihoods, and jobs. In the Indian Ocean, this includes fisheries, tourism, renewable energy, and biotechnology. Balancing development with conservation is key to long-term prosperity. Sea power projection is the ability of a nation to deploy and sustain naval forces far from its shores. In the Indian Ocean, this means maintaining fleets, bases, and supply chains that can operate across vast distances. Sea power shapes regional balances and influences global events. Freedom of navigation is a core principle of international maritime law, ensuring that ships of all nations can pass through international waters without interference. In the Indian Ocean, upholding this principle is vital for global trade and security, especially in contested areas. An exclusive economic zone (EEZ) is a sea zone prescribed by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. It gives a state special rights over the exploration and use of marine resources, stretching 200 nautical miles from its coast. EEZs are often sources of dispute in the Indian Ocean. Maritime Domain Awareness (MDA) refers to the effective understanding of anything associated with the maritime environment that could impact security, safety, economy, or environment. In the Indian Ocean, MDA is achieved through surveillance, intelligence sharing, and technological integration. Naval diplomacy involves the use of naval forces to support a country's foreign policy objectives. This includes port visits, joint exercises, and humanitarian missions. In the Indian Ocean, naval diplomacy helps build partnerships, deter adversaries, and promote peace. Hybrid threats in the Indian Ocean combine conventional military force with non-traditional tactics like cyber attacks, economic pressure, and information warfare. These complex challenges require flexible strategies and strong international cooperation to counter. Strategic competition in the Indian Ocean is driven by the ambitions of regional and global powers. This competition shapes alliances, influences infrastructure projects, and determines the balance of power. Understanding these dynamics is key to predicting future developments in the region. Looking ahead, the Indian Ocean will face new challenges and opportunities. Technological change, environmental pressures, and shifting alliances will all play a role. The ability of nations to cooperate, innovate, and adapt will determine the region's future stability and prosperity. Indian Ocean Game is a complex interplay of maritime geopolitics, naval power, and economic ambition. As nations compete and cooperate, the stakes remain high for global security and prosperity. By understanding the forces at work, we can better appreciate the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead in this vital region. The Indian Ocean will continue to be a stage where history, strategy, and ambition converge.